Let's be completely honest for a second. Have you ever been reading a book for class? Maybe a novel or a history textbook? And you get to the very bottom of the page, or even the end of the whole chapter, and you suddenly realize you have absolutely no idea what you just read. I mean, your eyes were moving across the words, you were sounding them out in your head, but your brain was just totally somewhere else, right? It is so frustrating. And honestly, it's an incredibly common experience, especially in 8th grade when your reading assignments start getting a bit longer and, well, more complex. But hey, today we're actually going to fix that. Welcome to today's lesson. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. Today we are tackling reading for meaning, and I'm going to introduce you to your new secret weapon, the Metacognitive Journal. This isn't just about reading words on a page anymore. It's really about transforming how you absorb and interact with information. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Here's our quick roadmap for today's lesson. First, the power of journaling. Then, setting up your journal. What to do before, during, and after. Your homework assignment. Wisdom and discernment, and finally, we'll wrap up with the godly learner philosophy. All right, Section 1, the power of journaling, writing to think. So strong reading isn't just a passive activity where you just stare at words and, hope they magically stick in your brain. It requires active engagement. Writing things down is actually how we force our brains to process and organize complex thoughts. And what's really fascinating is that taking notes, it isn't some modern invention. It's deeply biblical. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it." God literally instructed his prophets to write things down clearly so that anyone reading it could understand it and take action. When you write your thoughts down as you read, you are making your own learning plain. You're basically organizing all that chaos in your mind into clear, actionable understanding right there on paper. So what exactly is this tool we're using? Well, a metacognitive journal is just a place where you record your thinking before, during, and after reading to really see how your understanding grows. Now, metacognition, that's a huge word, right? But it simply means thinking about your thinking. This journal acts kind of like a mirror. As you write in it, it reflects back your growing brain power, showing you exactly how you're putting the puzzle pieces of a story or a text together. Now, why does tracking your questions actually matter? Well, taking a look at these points, tracking your questions helps you see patterns in your thinking. It shows you in real time exactly how your understanding changes from, say, page 1 all the way to page 50. It's a super powerful tool to reflect on your learning process. By looking back at your journal, you can actually figure out exactly which types of questions help you unlock a deeper understanding of the story and which ones you might want to work on. It's honestly like checking your stats in a video game to see exactly where you're leveling up. Moving on to Section 2, setting up your journal, the layout. I want you to grab a notebook right now because the setup is incredibly simple. I want you to literally draw 2 lines down your paper to divide your journal page into 3 distinct columns. Just label them before reading, during reading, and after reading. In that first column, you'll put your pre-reading questions. Right in the middle, you'll jot down questions and answers that pop up while your eyes are actually on the page. And in the final column, you'll put any lingering questions and overall reflections once you finally close the book. I promise you, this simple little table is going to completely revolutionize how you study. Let's get into Section 3, before, during, and after, the process in action. Okay, so let's look at some real, relatable examples of what your notes should actually look like in each of these 3 columns. In your before reading column, you are priming your brain. So an example question you might write down could be, what is the main problem in this story? See, just by asking that question before you read a single paragraph, you've turned your brain into a detective. Instead of just passively reading, you're now actively scanning those first few pages for clues about the conflict. You're giving your brain a totally clear mission. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens in the during reading column. Just imagine you're reading, and suddenly this totally random side character pops up. You write down the question, why did the author include this side character? Now you don't know the answer yet. But because you wrote it down, you are alert. 10 pages later, that character does something crucial, and boom, you found your answer. You write, to provide important clues. You just actively connected the dots in a way you literally never would have done if you were just passively skimming the pages. Finally, we have the after reading column. You finish the chapter or the book, but hey, your brain shouldn't just shut off. A really great example of a question to ask here is, what would happen if the story continued? This pushes you to reflect, to imagine, and to truly connect with the material long after you've read that final page. That is what really cements the information right into your long-term memory.
All right, Section 4, your homework assignment, putting it into practice.
Now that you know the why and the how, it's time for putting it all into practice. This is where you actually take ownership of your learning. So here are your exact steps for today. Feel free to just pause this explainer right here and write these down. Number 1, create that 3-column Metacognitive Journal template we just talked about. Number 2, use this template for your current reading assignment. Number 3, record at least 2 questions for each section. That's 2 for before, 2 for during, and 2 for after. Number 4, I want you to identify at least 1 question that was answered during your reading and 1 that was not. And finally, number 5, write a short reflection on how this whole journaling process actually affected your understanding of the text. Like, did it help? Did it keep you more focused? Let me know. Now for Section 5, Wisdom and Discernment, Beyond the Facts. Before we wrap up today, I really want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. You see, we don't just teach you these skills at HeroesMart Academy so you can, pass a test. There's actually a much bigger spiritual reason why we learn to ask these questions. God calls us to seek wisdom and understanding, not just facts. Merely collecting information, like just memorizing dates or names, well, that isn't the ultimate goal of your education. A computer can store facts, right? But God desires for you to develop true, deep understanding of the world He created and all the people in it. And that leads us to this incredibly important word, discernment. Discernment is simply the ability to judge well. And it is developed exactly by doing what we are practicing today, by asking thoughtful questions, pausing, and reflecting. As an 8th grader, you are navigating a world completely overflowing with information on the internet, on social media, in the news. Practicing this metacognitive journaling actually builds your discernment, equipping you to make wise, spiritual, and everyday decisions in real life. It's huge. Which brings us to Section 6, the Godly Learner Philosophy at HeroesMart Academy. This philosophy is truly the heartbeat of absolutely everything we do in our classrooms. At HeroesMart Academy, we tightly intertwine biblical morality with your education. And here is exactly why. Education without morality can actually hurt. Just making you smarter or more capable simply isn't enough. I mean, if someone is highly intelligent but lacks a moral compass, they can use that knowledge for all the wrong things. Our core philosophy is that your knowledge and intelligence should be tools that help you make wise, God-honoring, righteous choices every single day. We anchor this idea straight in Scripture, specifically Romans 8:6-7, which teaches us, "For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." We absolutely want you to pursue incredible academic excellence. We want you to be the sharpest readers and the brightest thinkers out there. But as you do, we want you to keep your mind centered on God, on His truth, on wisdom, and on making those righteous choices. Because ultimately, that is what leads to true life and peace. So I'm going to leave you with this final challenge. As you sit down to complete today's journaling assignment, what kind of student are you going to be? Will you just let your eyes passively skim over the words? Or will you pick up your pen, engage your mind, and actively seek true wisdom? The choice is entirely yours. Have a fantastic time with your reading assignment today, and I will see you right back here in our next lesson.